guys, so your first project is going to be the Elements of Design booklets. So with these, you're going to be answering these essential questions that are very important to the elements of art. And it says, what are the elements of art? What are the principles of design? And how can understanding the elements of art and principles of design make my artwork more successful? Now, of course, you're probably like, well, what are the elements and what are the principles? Here are the elements over here. And these are the ones that we are going to focus on with this project. Now, the principles will come into play a little bit, but the elements are what the focus is. So let's take a look at these. All right. So the elements of art. Line. A line is an identifiable path created by a moving point, often defined by the edges of a form. So they can be curvy, they can be vertical, they can be diagonal, straight, or curved, thick or thin. Then you have shape. So once you have that shape and you close that shape off, it's no longer a line. It becomes a shape. Shapes have two-dimensional height, width, and are usually defined by lines. So things like squares, rectangles, circles, those are all different types of shapes. Then you have form. Now forms are a little bit similar to shapes, but they are a little bit different from shapes. Forms are three-dimensional, okay? They can tell you height as well as width and depth. You think of things like cylinders, rectangular prisms, cubes, spheres. Those types of things are forms. Then you have color, light reflected off of objects. So, we have our primaries and our secondaries, and our primaries are red, blue, and yellow, and then our secondaries are green, purple, and orange. Those are all color. Then you have value. Value is a little bit hard. It shows light to dark. Okay, so you're showing the lightest of a color to the darkest of a color. So for example, you have the color red. All right, red is going to be in the center. And then on one side, you're showing your light reds, which would be like different shades of pink all the way to white. And on the other side of red, you're going to have all your dark reds, like different shades of maroon all the way to black. And that's value. And then we have texture. It defines the surface quality of an object or an art piece. So this is where you make it look like it would be texturized. So like the texture of grass, the texture of wood, the texture of different rocks, things like that. And then our last element is space. And this refers to the distance or areas around, between, and within components of an art piece. So what they're just saying is, if you're drawing an art piece and say you're doing a tree and there's mountains in the background, your tree is going to be drawn bigger because it's closer to you, whereas your mountains are going to be drawn smaller because you want to represent that there's space in between there. Okay? And those are the elements. And like I said, those are the ones we're going to be focusing on when it comes to this project. The next thing is the project instructions. Let me move my little box here. Okay, that way we don't have any project instructions being obstructed. So you're going to take your paper and you're going to fold it accordion style, okay? And it says to where you have 7 panels. However, our paper that we're using can only be folded to where you have about 4 evenly. Now, the best way to do this is, here's a huge suggestion, and I will show you here in a second. The best way to do this is to fold it once like this. So once in half, okay, once in half, and then you're going to take one side, one piece, you're going to take that piece and you're going to fold it to where it is in half, okay? So see that? Only one piece, it was folded where it's in half. Turn it over and do the same exact thing on here. Take it, fold it once in half, okay? So then now you have an accordion style paper, all right? Now, I will show you guys that again here in a little bit, but for now, that's what we're going with. Okay, now you're going to brainstorm your ideas about what silhouette you want to use for your design of your accordion style booklet. And you're going to illustrate examples on each panel. So you'll draw examples of this on each one. So in the end, you're going to have 7 of the same exact silhouette. So a silhouette is just a drawing, a illustration of something. Okay. Now, each panel will have different design that will focus on your silhouette, but also the element you have chosen for that panel. Okay, so you'll have one for line, one for shape, one for form, one for color, one for texture, one for value, and one for space. And then you'll have an extra panel that you can put your name on. Now, keep in mind, the principles can help when creating more appealing graphics, okay? Next, you're going to add color to each panel. So every panel will have color, with the exception of line. So line, you don't have to color, but you still have to represent lines, okay? Now, all the other ones should be colored. It says so right there in the instructions. You can use colored pencils, markers, and crayons, okay? Which I have all of those, so if you don't have any, I have you. And then once your project is finished, you're going to complete a rubric and a project reflection sheet before turning all of that in, okay? And just to be clear on instructions here, I think we'll, oh, okay, there we go. Just to be clear on making sure that you know the instructions well, I've got them in images here. So we have, you're going to fold your paper so that way you will have about 7. Well, this is 8 panels, but you should have 7. Excuse me. And then you're going to brainstorm your idea and draw that out 7 times. 7 times, okay? Each panel will be different based on the element you are using, okay? You're then going to add color using markers, crayons, or colored pencils. Now be careful with markers because sometimes they will bleed through, so be extra careful. And then the last thing you're going to do is a rubric and self-reflection. So some student examples, because that's always good to have, some examples, so then that way you can kind of see where we're working from and what exactly is the expectation here. So the few that I have here in the very beginning are actual student ones that have been completed and are top-notch, great ones from this past term. So here we have, an ice cream cone, and you can see like this one right here. I'm going to use a little pen. This one right here is line. Then you've got shape over here. You've got form. You've got color. You've got value. You've got texture. And then you've got space. So she's got all of the ones that she's supposed to have here. Okay. Where's my little... All right, so that's what we're going for. Each one meant to be this way, okay? So it's the same thing with here. You can kind of see where even the circles here are showing each one that she's supposed to have as well. And then the next slide, also the same exact thing. We have each one, all 7, okay? Now, I want to get rid of these real quick. But here you can see, like, you can make any kind of silhouette you want. Like here we have a Pokemon. I think it's like Charmander or something. And, with the other ones, we had like a football, snow cone, a little kitten, whichever silhouette you want to choose is all up to you. There's no specific silhouette that you have to pick. You could do a shoe, you could do a balloon, a flower, anything like that. It's just you want to make sure that you are using those elements. So line, shape, form, color, texture, space in a cool and interesting way. So these are, the reason we have these examples in here is to kind of just show you guys what the exact expectation is. Okay. So like here we have strawberries and a music note. I think this is, I can't remember what it is. I'm not a music person, so I'm sorry. But you know, be sure that you are using these as examples. You're not copying. These are just the student examples, and you're going by this as like your expectation. Like I said, these three are from students from last term, exactly from last term. So just like I said, keep in mind we want to make sure that each panel is pretty interesting. Each panel is colored. Like I said, here we have line and it's not colored, and that's okay. But all the other ones have expressed some sort of color and look completed and finished, which is the goal. Okay. Um, if you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out to me or you reach out to the lovely substitute that's here.